recognize the member for Oshawa.
Thank you very much, Speaker. And I'm pleased to be able to stand in this House as a former educator. Despite the government heckles, I'm glad to be able to stand up and defend education workers. And we're here debating a motion that is kind of the lead-in to this egregious piece of legislation that folks across Ontario have been anticipating since the government started levying threats about taking away the rights of collective bargaining and forcing education workers back to work. So what we're doing today is, I guess, that lead-in to the legislation. This government is wanting to fast-track it by making the House sit at 5 a.m. to start debating, and then 2 hours in the afternoon reclaiming some time there and changing the rules a bit to allow us to get through this faster, right? To get to this piece of legislation to and through and past so that they are ready with that great big huge hammer to stick it to those education workers, right? Those most poorly paid education workers in the province who at 5 a.m., Speaker, well, the government is feeling quite pleased with themselves because they're going to stick it to those education workers and not going to let them strike. A lot of them are going to be getting up and getting ready to go to work. The custodial staff is going to be, if not already at work, at school, heading in, right, to do important work. And we've been learning, some of us have been learning, about pandemic protocols, about cleanliness, about cleaning. And those custodial and janitorial workers and support staff, they're doing their darndest, and they haven't had what they've needed all the way along. So at 5 a.m., well, we've got folks being smug because, like I said, stick it to them. We will be standing here in our place as New Democrats, glad to bring voice to this House on behalf of those workers. But they'll be already starting their day, and they won't be able to fill the galleries, which I know that they would like to do. They won't be able to come to committee because ram it through, get her done, right? Yeah. Run them over. Speaker, we've talked a bit about Bill 115, and I'm going to keep this, connected to the motion. Don't you worry. But Bill 115, my colleague from Waterloo, we talk about that was. I know what brought her here, right? That Bill 115 was a big part of that. Well, while my journey was this different, not as public, but about the same, because I was a teacher at the time, got my teeth kicked in by the last Liberal government, maybe the actual last Liberal government, but anyway. And it was super anti-democratic. I mean, they stole our sick days and legislated us back to work and all sorts of stuff that turned out to not have been legal.
Caution the member on her language. The member for Oshawa has the floor.
I appreciate the caution and the reminder. Okay. Yes. Anyway. And they and the province has learned well, I don't know about those members of the province, but have learned a valuable lesson about the cost of trampling rights. The courts have made their ruling, and it's a hefty amount of money that will be, that is being repaid. But at the time when I got my teeth kicked in, I don't know if that was the part I wasn't allowed to say. Okay, good. Anyway, by the then Liberal government, I got involved with my local union, and I hadn't been involved before that time. So I got involved because it wasn't right, it wasn't fair, it was anti-democratic, and that maneuver of the Liberal government woke up a bunch of us to our responsibilities as union members and as members of the community at large, of the labour community, to stand up for our rights to collectively bargain. I had no idea that I had collective bargaining rights. I was just doing a job I thought was super important, but then I learned. And I was willing to stand up and defend those rights. And that's what this government is doing. And I don't know that they get that yet. You are awakening a beast. Like, you are going to have education workers who are going to wake up and realize their full potential, and you are going to feel it, all of you. Those of you who have dabbled in education, a Labour minister who has said he's a Labour minister was the first one to stand today and clap about ramming it through super fast. Yes. That we have this motion that is meant to make it oh man, make it all be finished and over and done with. Wait for it, Speaker, before the education workers are even on strike. And that's the difference to Bill 115. Like, they were heavy-handed and they laid the smack down and brought the hammer down, but they had already gone on strike. And this government is like, well, we don't like that. They may have the right. They may have the right to collectively bargain. We're going to take it away. They may have the right to strike. They have the right to strike. And this government has said, Ma, I don't like that. So this government has literally, or by rushing this through by the end of this week, before they even go on strike, you are ready to lay it down for them, eh? These workers that you purport to care about, these, you know, the party, the people or whatever, I forget, I don't read their bumper stickers, Speaker, but they, like, no, you can't see the license plates, you can read the stickers. Speaker, I don't mean to make light of it. We will have the chance at 5 a.m. and we will come prepared with all of the letters that you are ignoring, that your inboxes are filled with. Stories of workers in this province who are doing their darndest and they can't pay their own way. They can't look after their families. They can't feed their families. And you guys are like, take it or leave it. You're sending checks in the mail to whatever parents wanted, $200 here, $200 there. You could hire education workers. You could be putting money into education, but instead you're saying you're not the boss of me. We don't like the rights that you have, and we are going to override them. And Speaker, that is shameful. It's awful. And they think it's great. They're clapping and they're saying something about it's about the kids. They wouldn't know what is best for the kids. They don't listen to the kids. They're not listening to education workers. And I would say shame on every single one of them, and I hope that when you go back to your ridings that you hear it. And I hope that you hear it for a long time. Because you're picking a fight that you may think that you're going to win because you got the biggest hammer here. But in the long term, the kids are watching, eh? These kids you pretend to care about, they're watching. I don't know. Yes, sir. Sorry. Yeah, I shouldn't pay attention to the hecklers over there. Anyway, but I'm hearing the heckles from the other side about, I don't know, kids that they pretend to, or purport to care about. But those kids are watching. And they care about their custodial staff. They care about their EAs. They care about their ECs. They care about their teachers. They care about their principals. And they would hope the government would too.
I have to interrupt the member for Oshawa.